Art, I'm sorry I try to kick you out of the building so often. When I arrived in Indianapolis from Tampa, Florida, I'm going to bring up a bunch of old names that come in here, but Taft Broadcasting, which at the time owned the radio station, gave me the listen line so that I could hear the infamous morning show on WFPQ in Indianapolis. Those of you that don't remember a listen line, that was dialing up and listening over the phone, it was the way we had to do things before the internet. They wanted me to know what I was getting into, and boy did I. A few months into the new job, we decided to do a promotion called the Trans-American Challenge with the Pontiac dealers. That's where Bob and Tom started on the East Coast, and I don't recall what city you started in. Bob? Washington, D.C.
Oh, New York, sorry.
New York, okay. And then Jimmy Mad Dog Mavis, who happens to be here as well. He started on the West Coast. Where did you start, Jimmy? L.A., okay.
With Chick.
With Chick. Oh, I didn't know the Chick was with him then. Okay. I never. This reminds me of those Wednesday meetings. They traveled several days with cut-ins while on the road and concluded their trip in Indy at a nightclub called Piccadilly's. This was a station event, a typical bar nightclub that some people called Piccadisease. Regardless, it was the first time that I saw them actually perform. And I returned home that night and I told my wife, Becky, that I said, these guys are really talented and I hope we can keep them in Indy. We eventually were sold to Frank Wood, formerly of J-Corps. The name of that company was Secret. Thank you. So one laugh over there. But it really was, he called it Secret on purpose because he wanted people to go, what company you work for? It's Secret. And I said, no, you can tell me. You can tell me. He actually wanted that to happen. But, and then we started to have some sharp general managers around the Indiana area, especially in Fort Wayne and Terre Haute. And Frank made the decision to move forward with our first two affiliates. From there, we ran into some bumps along the road, some of which happened on those Wednesday mornings, and some were trying to get Art Volo out of the building. But with the help of several companies that viewed the syndication with a great deal of upside, including, and this is a name that many of you will remember, but is Bob Sillerman. Bob invested in it, and eventually Clear Channel, where none other than Craig Kitchen, actually a premier at that time, and Lissa Miller, their agent, came into the picture, and the syndication became much more than just the state of Indiana. It was countrywide, from New York to Utah. People like Chick McGee and Christy Lee, Marty Bender, Drew Carey, Dean Metcalf, and Whit Grayson all were contributors. It was the Bob and Tom show, but so many others were a part of a very special chemistry that made the show really special. These people, along with the others, made the program much more than a provocative, sophomoric humorous 4 hours. In fact, the smarter you were, the more entertaining it became. It was a very fun time, a very funny time, and every Wednesday's meeting was memorable. I am privileged to have been a small part of this historic Hall of Fame deserving show, and now Rick Green will tell you the impact of that success.
Awesome, Chris. I was able to follow Chris in the shoes as the market manager there, and I kind of got along with the ride in these last 9 years, and it's just been awesome. So I inherited a great opportunity, worked with a great morning show, Bob and Tom. But there's the other side of Bob and Tom, which many of the inductees tonight take great pride in what they do in their communities, for their communities and listeners which they serve. And Bob and Tom are no exception to that. One of the great projects they do is, we heard about all the CDs that they produce in great comedy. Every year they ship to troops throughout the world a laugh-filled CD to help our troops during their daily activities of protecting us. But in addition to that, they've been able to raise over $1 million to support the USO and its various services. In addition, and in addition to that, there's been so many projects over the years, certainly can't talk about them all, but whenever an event happens, a tragic event with flooding or tornadoes that hit the markets in the Midwest and areas that they serve, they're the first to join up with the Red Cross and help those in need. In Indianapolis, we recently completed our 22nd year of a blood donor campaign where we get hundreds and actually thousands of people who show up to donate that literally save lives throughout the state of Indiana. And we just recently completed also another year of what we call the Miracle Ride, which is a donation that goes to Wiley Children's Hospital that takes care of the Indiana children who are have the most needs, both medically and financially. Those are just a few of the highlights of what they do for the communities throughout the United States, but certainly as I've seen in Indianapolis, what a great partner they've been, and they give in so many ways. It's just awesome to work with them. So now we'd like to present for a few of what the show is all about, the essence of it. I don't know if you can really capture it in the minute or two we're going to see, but here's some Best of Bob and Tom.
A beer's much better than a woman. I'll tell you why I'm right. The beer will not get mad if I stay out and drink all night.
Everybody's pissed at me. My baker's pissed, my family's pissed, my plumber's pissed, my fisher's pissed, my barber's pissed, my brother's pissed.
It is very plain to see.
Everybody's pissed at me.
I think we can all agree.
Everybody's pissed at me. I wanna be Bob. I wanna be Bob. If I were Bob, I bet that life would be so sweet. Giving mustache rides to all the chicks I meet.
As big as a hat. As big as a hat.
Big as a hat.
I'm afraid I might fall in as big as a hat.
Big as a hat.
I told her on the street I'd love a little footy tat.
So would I, 'cause mine's as big as a hat.
Hi, this is Bob. Hi, this is Tom.
Hi, this is Christy Lee.
Hi, this is Chick. And now, huge midgets.
Hello, Mr. Hopkins.
Hi, Mr. Hopkins. Long time listener, first time caller. Don't hang up, I don't get many calls. One of these a big liar.
And cut. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob and Tom.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2015 inductees to the Radio Hall of Fame, Bob and Tom.
Thank you very much. We seated the group, a lot of our people here. And the next time you see this many of our people wearing suits, one of us will be dead.
I'd like to start with a joke. This elderly couple wobbles down the street and try to get into an ice cream parlor. The old man slowly waddles up to the bench at the counter and has a tough time getting up on the chair, finally sits down. He says, "I'd like a chocolate sundae." Clerk says, "Crushed nuts?" He goes, "No, bad knees."
Thanks, of course, to all the people on our staff. Too many to thank right now, but there's so many people that have taken the time to come see us, and they're all part of this. So thanks very much, and thanks to the Hall of Fame. I didn't realize Ronald Reagan is in the Radio Hall of Fame. I didn't know that. And, by the way, Ronald Reagan didn't know that either, unfortunately. Because you'd think that FDR would have made it, right? Oh, he's in it? Okay, because he did the fireside chats. And Ronald Reagan's radio career basically was helping a bunch of Iowa farmers with their fantasy football picks as he recreated games back then. I'm sorry, I was some Reagan fans.
Yeah, I just want. Well, I actually have a lot to say. I want to name some people by name because if it wasn't for them, I would not be here. Number one, Tom Griswold, my partner for 35. Number 2, Tom Chorley and Gary Buffington, 2 guys that hired me in Petoskey, Michigan, even though I had no radio experience. They turned me into a broadcaster, and I thank them for that. Christy Lee. I love you. Chick McGee, the funniest sidekick in radio. Dean Metcalf, Steve Salge, and Ron Sexton, the greatest character voices in radio. My dear friend Wick Grayson, my writing partner for 30 years. Jimmy Mad Dog Matus, great man, greatest man on the face of the earth. Lissa and Matt Miller from Miller Broadcast, thank you for everything. Helen Zimmerman, my trusted friend, and if it wasn't for her, the Kevoian family would not exist. My wife, Becky, I love you. My son Toby, my brother Peter, my stepsons Wade and Joey, my whole family, you are wonderful. When I was a teenager, I was a real smart ass, a real pain in the ass, and I didn't get along very well with my dad. And he said, if you continue this behavior, you will amount to nothing, but you will make it into the Big Mouth Hall of Fame. I made it, Dad. I always thought that you had to die or be retired for 5 years to be considered for any radio or any Hall of Fame. Thank God I'm not dead, but I am going to retire at the end of this year and walk away from the mic. Thank you for this great honor.
Thanks again. Thanks very much. And thanks again to the Hall of Fame, and of course thanks to all of you guys out there in radio, because remember, every morning those people get up and we give them something to do while they're driving and texting. Thanks very much.